Hey, podcast people. Thanks for stopping by the show. Had an opportunity to sit down with a new friend of mine by the name of Ashley Lieb. Ashley is the owner and operator of Honey Creek Pottery. Many of you know her from our scene. I've actually bought pottery from her in the past. We've really enjoyed it a great bit. So it's good to finally connect with her and get to know her a little bit as a person. We talked about her life, her business, of course, live music, and spend a little bit of time talking about the devastating effects of Hurricane Helene on the people of Asheville, North Carolina. Partway through the show, she gives a shout out to other business owners that operate within our circle. So I encourage you to go check out their websites. Their profiles are in the show notes. Anyway, hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I enjoy making it. Let's go.
Hey, it's Lori with Drifter Merch. I'm Ashley's partner for the Moontime Markets, and through that, I have learned that she is a badass businesswoman. She's had some tough times recently with everything going on, but she's resilient, she's pivoted, and she's going to push on through. Keep it going, Ashley. You do great work.
Ash, it's Rebecca and Sam, your panic mom and dad. We just want to say we love you so much.
And baby girl, we are so proud of all that you've accomplished, but especially how you came out on the other side of this whole hurricane debacle. We love you. We love Drake. And like the song says, we love your mama too, because she cool.
And I'll see you next week. No.
Well. Well, it's good to meet you finally. Lori over at Drifter Merch, who's been an angel to me, giving me some guidance on, well, I'm a liar. She gave me some tips and stuff on marketing, but she was, when I met her, she was just really kind, and she has kind of exposed me to some music going on in Charleston that I would not have otherwise known about. But that was the first time I ever heard anybody say your name, was talking to Lori. So shout out to you, Lori.
Yeah, shout out to Lori. I love working with her for the Moontime Markets. She's very good at marketing, and she's a good partner to have for those. She does a really good job, and she's got her finger on the pulse for everything music related. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. We were talking about Goose, and when Goose had come down to Atlanta, we were going to meet her down at the little lot scene that was going on down there, but she said it wasn't really, they're not quite there yet, like Panic and Fish are, and it was hot as shit that day, and I was like, man, I'm not going to stand out on the concrete for several hours, but but she seems to be all over the place. She's definitely a hard worker for sure.
That she is, yeah, and it's not the easiest ball game to be standing on those lots, and so pre-parties are nice, but shakedowns are sometimes hard. So I commend her. She vends more lot stuff than I do, but some of those days get very, very hot.
Now, I sense a Midwest accent. Where are you from originally?
From Kansas City, and moved to Asheville in 2009. Came out here for school. There's a huge pottery scene out here, so I came out here, learned from some really amazing teachers at UNCA, and then found some really great mentors. So I was able to create my business here because there is a huge community out here in Asheville.
Yeah, no doubt. I've been to a couple pottery places, varying in size, but I was gonna nerd out for a minute and get you to tell me about your setup. Like, what does your space look like?
Oh, I like to nerd out.
Yeah.
I live in Candler, so it's kind of like West Asheville, but it's kind of the unincorporated side of Asheville. So I'm like 15 minutes from downtown, but I have a 800 square foot studio that's on the side of my property. And I have 3 scut kilns that I use. It's all oxidation, so it's all electric. And then I have 2 wheels that I use, one for throwing, one for trimming, and it's just a full-blown production studio. And I have one side of my studio for slip casting, one side for hand building. So I was able to build, when I bought this house about almost 7 years ago, I was able to build, it's not my dream studio because I would definitely like to grow out of it, but for right now it's exactly what I need, and it's definitely a full-blown production studio.
Can you explain that a little bit? What's slip casting?
So slip casting, so there's different forms of using clay. So you can throw with clay on the pottery wheel, and then you can hand build, which is like sculpting or rolling out slabs and doing like drape molds. So like draping clay over different forms. And then slip casting is using liquid clay. Slip is considered, it's just liquid clay, but you pour it into molds that you've pre-made. So I make a lot of, I was actually my senior thesis when I was in college, but egg trays, they're a good part of I do a lot of music art, but I also do a lot of vending art shows and Etsy sales. And so I slip cast only 2 things that I sell, but I sell a lot of them. And one of them is ceramic egg trays. So I pour the liquid clay into the molds to produce those. And then I also pour little one-hitters or pipes that I make that come out of a plaster mold as well. So
how do you do the coffee mugs we got from you? It almost looks like they're hand painted or maybe dipped in something. Is that how you get the color before you do the glaze, or am I saying the wrong words?
No, no, it's totally fine. I love talking about it. So I throw them on the wheel, and then I bisque fire them, which is their first firing. And then once they're out of the bisque kiln, I glaze fire them. And some of the ones, I forget exactly what you guys have gotten from me, but I think you have one that has an image on it, and then one that just had a stamp. But I do stamp work on my mugs, and then I do just regular glazed mugs, and then I have ones that I put images on, and the images are an extra firing. It's kind of like a screen printing process, but it's an extra firing that I do after the items are glazed. And yeah, glazing is like painting the mug.
Okay.
But the chemical reaction that makes it permanent is the heat from the kiln. So it's different than painting, and it's a different formulation. Paint and glazes are two separate things.
Has Patrick Swayze ever shown up while you were on the wheel and it gotten really close and weird?
You know what? In my dreams, maybe, but I get asked that question a lot. And I want to do that for Halloween so bad. I don't know how to do it. I also don't want to go to a show completely covered in clay and have that be my costume. But I literally want to do it so bad one year. It's definitely a bucket list.
Such a nerdy question, but I couldn't help myself.
Oh, you wouldn't believe how many people ask that and make jokes about it. I mean, when you're a ceramicist or a potter, like that's an average question to be asked. So,
well, I know you're deep in the music scene. I know you're a Deadhead.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first foray into quote unquote jam band music?
Most definitely. I would say Grateful Dead is the roots, and then Widespread Panic's the branches. Because, for me, I got started, as a young, that young teenager that like figures out, an older sibling's like, hey, check out this Grateful Dead album, and you're like, oh yeah. And I just remember listening to Catfish John for the first time, and I was like, oh, my mind was blown. Which is not my favorite song anymore, but that got me turned on, and I started going to shows when I was a teenager, probably doing a little too much of everything that I shouldn't be doing. And then I went to my first Widespread Panic concert in 2007 at the Uptown Theater in Kansas City. And that was when I got turned on to Widespread Panic. And I was like, oh, full force into this. And then I moved to the South in 2009, and it became a much more easier and tangible thing to do. And I just never slowed down after that.
I was a lot baby. My dad was one of the first people to do tie-dyes in Athens, and he so and I've told this story before, but in case anybody hadn't heard it, we had a two-story, it was like an old carriage house that had been redone into like these two separate apartments, and at one point we had both the upper and the lower floor, and I kind of lived on the bottom floor when I got to be a teenager. But we had this big laundry room that was tiled, and he had, I'm sure you've done some tie-dyes over the years, that he had like the tables he would twist the shirts up on, and then I remember he would you got to leave them in the activator for a certain amount of time and then wash them out and dry them. And man, we lived off tour tie-dye money for years. And he,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think he did a run for REM when they did their Green album. And then, what was I about to say? Oh, but two shows I remember going to, he would take me occasionally. I remember going to DC to see Grateful Dead. I was probably like 11 or 12, and he would send me out on the lot with like a armload of shirts, and I was always terrified. But like after you did it once or twice and came back with the cash, then it was like this game. So it was always it was kind of grew up on that scene, getting busted by the cops.
You're like, oh, I can do this, and I get money every time. Dad's got the right idea.
Totally. Yeah, Asheville's got a good scene. We came up, I think we went to Asheville Music Hall. We came up the night before Panic was playing down at that Harrah's Arena, and we caught a couple little bands were playing. But I love that downtown scene. It's very eclectic.
Yeah, it's definitely grown. I've only been here 15 years, and I say that because there's some heads that have been here for so long because it was untouched for a while. But I feel like I moved here right. Like 10 years ago is when it really started to grow massively. But yeah, Asheville Music Hall is amazing. I work with them. I put on different events there, and I'm actually just organized their Fuzzy Rainbows, their Billy Strings pre-party event, and I love them, and that's been one of my places forever. Salvage Station used to be amazing, but unfortunately that's no longer.
Yeah.
The Orange Peel. I'm really loving One World Brewery recently. They've been getting a lot of really good music, but yeah, we have a really good scene here, and I'm hoping that we can get it back to where it needs to be, because we get so much music here. It's just like Nashville, but we just have to rebuild our venues, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you in a little bit about the flood and The band, I was telling Sean Mills of Machine Funk this. I don't know if you've heard of Machine Funk.
Yeah, Sean's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Machine Funk.
So
we run in the same crowds. We run in the same crowds.
Good. Well, we were down in Macon for they were playing down there, and we were hanging out in the room before we went down the venue, and I was like, yeah, man, I went to Asheville this one time, and there's this great Fish tribute band. The lead guy is this transgender dude. I was like, but
Drew Wally.
No, it's one of Drew's friends.
Oh,
but I'll have to. Well, this is so I'm telling him this. I'm like, they were amazing, and he was like, well, what's their name? I was like, I don't remember. He was like, well, it must not have been that good if you don't remember their name. But I'll have to look them up. But
I mean, also it's hard to keep everything in line. Like, there's so many bands, it's hard to remember sometimes. Not your fault.
Oh, it's all good. And I've had a few trips up there. I love going to the Grove Park Inn and just hanging out on that back, stadium seating or whatever. I don't know what you'd call it, that terraced area.
Mm-hmm. It's the best sunset in all of Asheville. Is what I would say. That's where I tell people to go have a cocktail and sit up there, and it's the best sunset.
Tell me, I don't mean to pick off a scab, but that area, of course, was devastated by the hurricane, and unfortunately, the way our attention span is as a country, the news cycle has changed. But it sounds like there's still a ton of work to be done. But how did that? I remember seeing pictures of like highways washed out, and seeing posts on Facebook of people that were stranded. And can you give a firsthand account of kind of what happened up there and where you guys are today in terms of recovery?
Definitely. It's definitely hard to talk about, but it's become easier with time, because it's like the difference between survivor guilt and survivor grief. And like, I've been really diving into it. A lot of us have I've been with the same therapist for a long time, but a lot of us have had to get therapy after this. But I'm pretty good at talking about it, just because it's something I feel like needs to get out there. So, because I feel like you said, it's now it's on to the Los Angeles fires, which God bless all of them, but it's just like, we're still living in it, and it's hard. You want to support everybody, but it's like, we're still living in a devastated area. So it's just like hard to even wrap your head around it. But I feel like I don't want Asheville to be forgotten, or Western North Carolina to be forgotten. So I don't mind talking about it.
Okay.
But yeah, we definitely, there's certain areas that got hit more than others. The River Arts District, which holds a lot of my friends' studios, did hold a lot of their studios, is pretty devastated. Anything along the French Broad, all the way down the river, Marshall got demolished, Hot Springs got demolished, like anything low-lying on the French Broad pretty much is gone or is needing to be rebuilt. And even Irwin, Tennessee, all the way, like Irwin, I just saw Irwin recently, and that one was hard. But so it's not just Asheville, right? It's surrounding areas, anywhere that the water could get to the French Broad and then flood the French Broad was pretty demolished. But Swannanoa also, I don't know if you've ever been out to like Pisgah Brewery or anything out there. Swannanoa, the lake overflowed. I don't know if they released it or it just overflowed, but everything got washed out in Swannanoa. And that's where a lot of the deaths happened in that area, because the water, there was just no way to warn people, and it came down so fast. It just literally like tsunamied the houses there. You can drive through it and it's just wiped out.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously the river swell coupled with the fact that you've got all this water running down from the hills, and then I'm sure a clogged sewer system, so there's nowhere for it to go. Some of the pictures I saw, I didn't even know what to think, and it wasn't like you could go up there to help because they weren't letting anybody in. So you couldn't get in to help. Like what you're saying is like the roadways, like where I live was an island, and everything around it, you couldn't get out on any of the roads because the water was so high. And then other places, I mean, I think in some places the water crested at like 30 feet. And I mean, that's unheard. It broke history records. The last big flood was 1916. And in some places it went above what it was in 1916. So it was historic. And, it washed out highways. 40 is still closed. And so, and that's a main
interstate that goes all the way across the country. So when you think about all of that, like nobody could get in from that way. And then people had to wait for water to recede from other areas to get in to help. So a lot of people are coming up from South Carolina, but having to go down and around on 26. And that's how I evacuated. I waited a week to get out because I had to help all my neighbors with flooding and all this stuff. But I didn't have cell service for about 5 days. Nobody did. So nobody could tell anybody like this is what's going on. Mm-hmm. And there was no internet for a lot of people. I didn't get it back for like a week and a half, but a lot of people didn't have internet for like a month, and they had to get Starlinks, buy Starlinks so that they could have internet. And then I didn't get water back for 56 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had to go to FEMA every day. And this is very normal for everybody on Asheville City Water. Because like Canton has their own water system, Mills River has their own water system, but Asheville City Water, which is the majority of the areas around here. Like I'm not in Asheville City proper, but I'm in Candler and I have Asheville City Water. And everybody pretty much didn't have usable water for, I think, 56 to like 58 days. God. And so a lot of us were going to shower in FEMA and Red Cross, like shower houses that they put in parking lots of like major area, like pretty congested areas. So like mine was in Buncombe County Sports Complex where they have soccer fields. And so I would go there and take showers. But I also bought like a camping shower for my house so I could take a shower out of a 5-gallon bucket. But like flushing toilets was a problem, laundry, like, I mean, I feel it felt like third world, and it makes you really realize like, hey, like we're very lucky to have the utilities that we do and to have fresh water. Cause I'm pretty conservative on all of my using in my home. But after that, it was like, holy cow, I will never take water for granted ever again.
Do you have,
but yeah, so
do you have babies?
Sorry, what? I do not have any kids, but I can only imagine what that was like for some people that did, especially because the schools were closed. And a lot of these kids in this area, they already had COVID. And so they did, they weren't in school for COVID. And then you have a natural disaster where, hey, guess what? You guys aren't going to school for over a month because there's no water. And, they can't do online schooling because there isn't internet for a lot of people. So, and then some of the kids went back to school and the water facilities realized there was lead pipes. So there was lead coming out in the water once they started testing at some of these schools. So there's just like so much we've been realizing here, and there's so much that's still going on. And FEMA helped. It's not like FEMA wasn't here, but the amount of money that there was to give, a lot of people aren't able to rebuild. There's a lot of people living in tents on their properties. There's a lot of people with studios that were in the River Arts District that will never have the equipment they had because even with insurance, it wasn't covered. So there's just a lot of people that, for the lack of a better word, are really screwed because they just, even with insurance, like High Water Clays, where I get my clay supply from, they had a $10 million worth of damage, and they had a $5 million insurance policy, which they probably never thought in a million years they'd have to use. Right. And insurance only paid out $1 million. And so all that did was clean up. And so just affecting me, like I'm lucky as hell that my house and my studio are still standing, but High Water, where all of us get all of our supplies, and it's the third biggest clay distributor in the United States, is gone because, right. It's gone and there's no way to rebuild. And there's so many people going through it right now.
Yeah, it's funny. Not funny. Sorry, I use that word as a...
I get you.
What I was going to say is it's ironic that, like, I'm sure if you didn't have some type of flood clause, for lack of a better term, in your policy, it's funny how the insurance companies they don't want to pay. As standard practice. We just had we had a pipe leak here at this house that we rent, and it turned into this huge mold problem. We didn't have standing water in the house, but I didn't want to keep the couch and stuff. Like everything in the house stunk, even though they came in and like did air treatments and stuff like that. And the furniture's fine, but I tried to get them to replace it. But because there wasn't anything that you could see, no mold growth on the furniture, they just weren't willing to do it. Like they gave us nothing. And luckily we rent, so that the landlord, you took care of what they need to take care of from a structural standpoint. But it just made me realize, man, it's like, why am I paying for this? Like, it never helps me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us are feeling that way here. I mean, I've had things with car insurance, right? Like, I feel like car insurance works, but for homeowners insurance, it's like people had to come up with ways to like the verbiage had to be proper for when people came and did their inspection. So like, it couldn't be flooding, but the way that things hit your house, or like some of the stories I've heard about how people have gotten around insurance clauses is insane, and they shouldn't have to be jumping through these hoops, but there are a lot of people that needed to figure it out. And so a lot of it was verbiage and ways to get around it, but they're still not getting their full payouts. So it's just like, it seems all like a sham, you know? And well,
it sounds like
it's a lot.
It sounds like you guys are on the mend slowly. But then,
we are. But there's one thing I want like everyone to know, and hopefully anyone that listens to this too. And a lot of the people in the music scene understand, because Asheville is a big hub of music. But like right now, like our economy is based off of tourism, right? And so our leaf season, which is October to November, where everything is packed, everything is full. We didn't have our tourist season, so October to December, which gets everybody through the winter. No matter what you do, food and beverage, artist, music venue, like whatever it is, that's what gets us through the winter. So we didn't have that. And now no one is still coming, right? Because it's January and everyone just had New Year's and no one's traveling. But we have places closing left and right that aren't able to reopen. And so it's like we are on the mend, but I feel like most people don't realize when they come back, like in the summer, once people start traveling again, Asheville is going to look very different, even for the places that weren't demolished, because they're not able to open or reopen.
To your point, and that was going to be something I spoke to, was that the slap in the face. Like Goose had to cancel. I think Patterson Hood had a gig he had to cancel. So like that money that it gets brought in by the people that are coming to see that is like this added slap in the face.
Oh yeah, and Christmas Jam. I mean, Warren, for this would have been, I think, the 33rd. I forget what number it is, and I feel bad because I make their VIP mugs and I should remember off the top of my head. But for over 30 years, Warren has held Christmas Jam in Asheville, and this was the first year ever that Christmas Jam didn't happen. And it benefits Manna Food Bank and Habitat, right? They build a house every year, and Manna Food Bank makes so much money from Habitat or from Christmas Jam because all the money's donated. So Manna was demolished. Habitat, a lot of Habitat places were demolished, and then Christmas Jam didn't happen, and that brings in so much money for the city. And so like it's just this ripple effect, right? That we're just like trying to figure out, and we'll come back because the people that are staying are strong as hell. But like the comeback has got to be, we gotta fight for this comeback. So we're trying.
Well, on a positive note, you did find, and thanks for educate me a little bit. I read what I read, but I tend to stay off the news just because those first 4 Trump years really wore me the fuck out. So I try not to watch the news. But
so we're not watching the news for another 4.
I try not to, man. God,
I'm not touching it with a stick. Not happening.
God damn it. But you found a new supplier. You're back in the clay game.
I did, yes.
Who'd you team up with?
So there's 3 big, there's 4, but one cannot keep up right now because you have to realize, like I've been using the same clay body for 15 years. I learned how to throw on it, and it's like what I've used forever. So all my wholesale items, everything is, pictures are all those clay bodies. And so Highwater was the 3rd biggest distributor in the United States. So they're selling to all these states, all these potters. And so I had to find a clay body that was comparable in price and that matched my clay bodies that I've already used and are kind of like the same texture. There's a lot that goes into clay. And so I found, which I've known that they're there forever, but it's Standard Clay. They're, I think they're out of Ohio, but I had to find somebody that actually bought enough that I could not, because shipping is so expensive. When you think about one box of clay, it's 50 pounds. That only makes like 30 mugs for me. So I use about a half ton of clay every 2 months, like a physical half ton.
Damn.
And usually, like I do wholesale production. Like even though I sell my one-off pieces. Like I will do like I just sent for New Year's, I did government mules mugs for the Beacon Theater and the Connecticut run. And that was like 300 mugs that I shipped out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing like large orders. And so it takes me like a half ton, usually every 2 months. And so I had to find a supplier that was close enough to me that I could actually go pick it up and drive it home. So I didn't have to pay shipping. And I found this place outside of Charlotte called Rising Sun Studios. They're a teaching school. And he orders standard. He obviously is buying a lot more now because everybody's now going to him because word of mouth has spread. And so I found him. And so I'm going to drive down to him like every 2 months and get standard clay and drive it back home.
Very cool.
But it's just like an added thing, right? Because we were all so spoiled here, driving like 10 minutes to High Water and buying every supply you ever need
Mm-hmm.
and then just going home. So now I've just there's other avenues of where to get things, but the clay was the hardest part because it's like when you are a baker, it's like, hey, guess what? You don't have the normal flour you're used to. You have to use like some almond flour, and you have to reformulate all your stuff. It's like a completely different process. So that's the hardest part for myself and every potter.
So you do a lot of wholesale stuff. You do some a lot of dead stuff. I see some panic stuff.
Yeah.
Do you ever, like, if people, you and I had a conversation, I was kind of telling you about some dinnerware that we were thinking about. You were telling me to kind of go look and figure out, like, maybe the style and shape that we were after. But is that pretty standard? Can you, like, if somebody's got an idea of something, are you willing to do custom stuff like that?
Definitely. And a lot of my stuff that I do with different bands too is custom stuff that they come up with. And so it's, I love to do customs. It's just like my business is a lot. I've gone into wholesale a lot more just because it's more streamlined and it's just easier in general from a business standpoint. But I do love doing customs, and that's kind of what makes my job enjoyable because it's kind of not the standard, right? Like I get to have a little more creativity. Like I literally make a joke. I'm like #mug life because my life is mugs over and over and over every day. And don't get me wrong, I love doing it, but I really love making customs and figuring out different things because different customers have different ideas, right? And like different color patterns they want. And so I love being able to do that for people, and it kind of gets me out of my everyday norm.
Do you have any employees to help you, or are you just Superman over there? Superwoman?
So yeah, people joke. I'm very like I'm not a type A person, but I'm a Cancer, a day away from being a Leo, and I'm really gung-ho. I'm like very like go for it. I always have been. So usually it's me most of the year, but then in the wintertime, I hire somebody out to help me with shipping and packaging and decaling and everything. Because for the most part, it's still like a full-time job for me. Like I go out there at 9 a.m. and I work till 5 p.m. And some nights I'm out there way longer. So it's definitely just me hermiting in my studio every day, all day.
Any talk of cannabis legalization in North Carolina? I heard that the reservation that Harris is on, it has legalized. I don't know what the requirements are, like if you could just go there and purchase. But what's North Carolina's stance, and is that maybe something that the state's a little more progressive on than Georgia? Because we are never going to get legalized marijuana.
Yeah, so for Cherokee, the reservation, you can go there, and I think it's recreational now, so you can go out there and you can buy anything. But for right now, I don't keep up on it because, quite honestly, it's not. I feel like everybody already smokes it,
right?
But I would hope that. I mean, I just went back. I was traveling for like a month, and I was in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Missouri, Kansas, and all of those states except Kansas are all legal. And then I drive back home, through Tennessee. Tennessee's not. I get to North Carolina's not. And I'm like, what is the South doing? Like, I don't understand it because also like, why are the states not profiting on this? Like, it's beyond me. But yeah, I don't know what's happening in the state of North Carolina. Okay. I do believe that it's going to happen sooner than later because our liquor laws in North Carolina are so ridiculous too, like with ABC stores and everything. It's going to be so controlled when it happens in North Carolina. And so whoever is the legislator for like whoever figures that out, good I hope they've got a lot of work ahead of them, because they literally, like, everything in the state is so controlled.
I remember going out to Red Rocks one year. It had to have been probably early 2000s, and it was when they legalized recreational. And I remember going into to a dispensary, and, like, you have to. It was one of those places where they're only letting you in as you're being served, so it's like you have to wait. And I remember walking in when it was my turn, and just, like, leaning over to the counter of the guy, like, whispering. He was like, "Dude, it's okay. Tell me what you want."
You're like, "It's okay here. You're allowed to be. You're okay here. This is a safe space."
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sean, I don't know, so he's teamed. I don't know if you've heard of this project. They're coming to Asheville. I have to look. It's either March or April. Bears Gone Fishing. Has he told you about that?
Yeah, I've already seen them. They've already done one little mini tour. Yeah.
Aren't they killer?
That's what I'm saying. Living in this area, I'm like, I feel like we get to see so much. And yes, it's very, very good.
It's so good.
I was actually blown away because the matchup of all of it. I was wondering what it would be like, right? Because
Right.
it's like, well, because I've only ever heard Sean do Panic. And so then I was like, I wonder what this is going to be like. And I think it was at the music hall that they played, and the crowd was just so into it. Like it sounded good, and I thought it flowed really well.
And there's something for everybody. So if you like the Dead, Fish, Panic, they rotate. So just, go. You can go to the bathroom if you don't like Panic and come back out, and they'll be right back into the Dead.
No doubt. But I feel like in Asheville, everybody's just we all are such like jam band music lovers in general. I feel like, we all just flow with it. I don't take bathroom breaks.
yeah, same. Well, what are you listening to right? I mean, I know you're a Dead girl at heart, Panic girl at heart. Is there any of these new upcoming bands that you're kind of digging right now that you can turn me on to?
Well, okay, so like obviously Goose is new. I'm really just not the biggest Goose fan. I've tried. I kind of that's another story. I won't even tell that story, but I went and saw, I'm going to tell this story because it's kind of why I had a hard time with Goose. I'm sorry to any fans that are listening that are Goose fans. You know what I mean? Sorry. But Phil died. They moved it to Winston-Salem, and Phil had died that day. And I found out at the pre-party that Lori and I were putting on at Fiddle and Fish Brewery. And they did Broke Down Palace, I believe, and then it was Cold Rain and Snow, and then Love Light. And it was like the ode to Phil, right? And I was like, oh my God, like this, I'm so pumped that they're doing this nod, because I feel like Goose is kind of like they're like Fish,
Yeah.
And I had this group of people behind me that go, what song is this? And it was Broke Down Palace. And I was like, oh my God, like I literally just turned around and I, turned back, and I was like, man. And then they started talking during the rest of it. And so I had to leave for the end of Love Light. And I left. I never leave before the end of shows. And it's just hard because the crowd is just different. And that is what it is. But I'm such a live music girl that it is hard when the crowds are not fully in it. So I've tried Goose recently. A few times, not so much into it. I think I can listen to it live on my phone, but I don't know if I like it in person. So there's that. I'm always a huge J-Rad fan. That's not new, but I will go travel to see J-Rad anyway. Dude, I will go see J-Rad anywhere. Yeah. Always any Grateful Dead renditions. I really, really, these are things that are not new, but like Sturgill's new album, like Sturgill's new stuff, all about it. Anders Osborne's new album, all about it. Like there's artists that are putting out new things that I am like very, very into. And so it's not new stuff. It's just older artists coming out with new stuff that I'm really into. And I can't stop playing Billy Strings' new album. Like I love it.
Tree, I saw a miracle flying high. I tuned into the song that she was singing. The melody was an honest friend, and it felt like I was learning to fly. But I fear I'll never know the feeling. It must be nice to just be heard. Sound a bit absurd. I'd sing along with the birds. I'd sing along if I only knew the words. I'd sing along with the birds if I only knew the words. Well, it's got you feeling a particular way. Can't stand to see your own reflection. penny and close your eyes and try to think of something to say. And don't waste your wishes on perfection. It must be nice to just be heard, and it might sound a bit absurd. I'd sing along with the birds. I'd sing along if I only knew the words. I'd sing along with the birds if I only knew the words. I'd master every verse until my spirit learned to burst into the morning sun, while my heart is on the run. All the wind and the whistling world could whip a whisper any given day, just to see if there was anyone to listen. They say the April rain will fall to resurrect the flowers of May. You can't know who you love until you miss them. It must be nice to just be heard, and it might sound a bit absurd. I'd sing along with the birds. I'd sing along if I only knew the words. I'd sing along with the birds if I only knew the words.
Hey, Ashley. It's your girl, Michelle. I just wanted to go ahead and just little poke reminder that you are fabulous. You're awesome. You're such an inspiration. I'm so grateful for our collaborations. You always pick me up when I'm down. I'm so grateful that we go through all the dumb shit together and we wind up in a fetal position laughing our asses off. We're crying sometimes, but usually it turns into a big fat laugh. I couldn't ask for a better friend to do this solopreneurship with. Thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for just being you. Your rawness. Your no filter. You know, and sometimes it can hurt my feelings, but most of the time I realize that you're just really just being hard on me to be able to help me grow. And you have been a mentor and inspiration for the last few years. And I'm just, this past year, everything, just living in Asheville and going through all the things together and knowing that we didn't have anybody else to talk to that understood us besides each other. God, I couldn't imagine life without you, especially this past year. And I'm looking forward to seeing your growth, us growing together, and just finding pure joy in every step of the way, along the way. Because that's what you give. You give us that.
I think he stands for a lot of good stuff. I think he's
Yeah.
a really amazing person.
For sure.
And I think the amount of artists that he's sat in with, like the Ringo Starr, I don't know if you saw this, but he did a song with Molly Tuttle and recorded it, and Ringo Starr played drums on it.
What?
Like, Yeah, and they did it at the Ryman. Like, I'm telling you, like, he's played with Trey. He did the Billy and the Kids thing with Bill Kreutzmann. He has sat in with Bobby. He's played with, I mean, everyone, man. And it blows my mind that all of these, like, Fish has never, ever, they don't have sit-ins. And Fish had Billy come out and play possum, like, at a live show. Like, he's just breaking barriers that I think are amazing, and so that also brings in a little bit of that for me. He's
a superhuman on the guitar. I don't know how he does it, but it's like watching his fingers and stuff, and just how effortless he can play some of that stuff at lightning speed. He's undoubtedly just a crazy good guitar player for sure. So.
Yes. Okay. So somebody else, and last time I was in Athens, I don't know if you've seen them. But last time I was in Athens, Smut, it's Jeff Sipes' band with Isaac Hayden and, God, I forget who plays the keys. And Rebecca Todd Rebecca's in the band. But like that new stuff, Jeff Sipes' new band, that's some good stuff. You should look that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they're playing soon too. They're obviously all Asheville people, but Isaac Hayden is a little prodigy. He's freaking good. So if you haven't looked him up, he's awesome. I think he's like 22.
Hayden.
Hayden.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I mean, with Jeff's just one of the top drummers ever. And the fact that he plays with him, like, he's just, the two of them together just vibe. And I was at the Nowhere Bar and saw them recently. I was down there vending, and I saw him here, but seeing him there was no one there. And I was like, man, because I just got to like really zone in, and I was like, they freaking rock. So that's a new band to look up.
Nowhere has been doing some really crazy stuff. Like, that sounds like a band that could probably sell out, obviously, the Georgia Theater across the street. But they had Jerry Joseph come not too long ago, and I was like, that's a small, intimate place. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's awesome though. It's like, but also I don't know, for me, I'm like, I would love to see Jerry Joseph it's not that their sound isn't great, but like Jerry Joseph, I want to sit and listen to Jerry. So like, I like better sound. So for me, sometimes it's hard to see bands that are just really awesome in smaller bars because the sound, I feel like, loud. Yeah.
Well, so we talked about, Lori, y'all are business partners, but in terms of, like, there's this whole community I've discovered of people that vend in our circles, provide services in our circles. Anybody that you think people should know about, or anybody you want to give a shout out to that you think is out there doing it that people should go look up, besides yourself, obviously?
Yeah, so there's like a group. Okay, so I'm just going to give a shout out to all the badass women entrepreneurs that I know, because there's literally a lot of women. There's a lot of women, and I constantly, because I put on events, right? So I invite people that I know, but also people's wares that I think are amazing. There are so many women out there creating and selling their stuff and doing it. I'm just like, I love it, because I also feel like, you know, in past years, the lot scene, or even just like the shows that I would vend at, are highly like male dominated. And now I just see a lot of women doing it. And I'm at least in Asheville in the Southeast. So it's like, for me, I'm like all about it. And one of my favorite tie-dye artists, I have two, so I'm going to give a shout out to both.
Okay.
Rebecca and Sam at Reba's Dancing Dyes. They are amazing. I wear their pants all the time, but they vend hard. Like, awesome. They vend everywhere all the time. And also Harry Hart from Dying Man's Tie Dyes.
That guy's incredible too.
I have known him since he was really young, and I freaking think how far he's come in the tie-dye world is like amazing. And he's a good friend.
Some of those tapestries that he puts up, I mean, that's like, I think back to when my dad was doing spiral t-shirts. Like, that is some next level shit that he's putting out.
Oh yeah. He just zones into like, and you can sit and talk to him too, okay. But like at Panic in the Playa every year, like he'll bring a tapestry and we'll put it up in a room, and we'll all just sit there for like 2 hours, and he'll change the light. and the light will literally like alter the way it looks from what it looked like with the lights on. And it's pretty mind blowing how he comes up with his designs. But
Incredible.
he doesn't vend. He just sells online because he's got more of a traction, I think, just selling on his drops. But he's amazing. He would be a good person to have on here too, to talk about his processes, because he's awesome.
Mm.
And then Blaze on Creations, she's one of my really good friends, and she does more fish, but she does candles, and she kills it on the fish scene. But also I do collaborations with her.
What's her name?
And she does Michelle Cook at Blaze on Creations.
All right.
She's wonderful. And then Heather, Handmade Mama's Minis, she vends everywhere. She does a lot of fish and Grateful Dead stuff too, but she's one of the ones too that has a really big online following, but she makes skirts and does different collabs with tie-dye artists, and she's wonderful.
Awesome.
But yeah, I've been with a lot of women that are wonderful. Lori is vending at everything, so
Yeah.
I've been alongside her a lot too. So
That's great. Well, cool. I think I've been looking forward to talking to you for a long time, just because Lori kind of name dropped, and I started looking up your stuff. We got a little bit of stuff from you. We're going to get more.
yeah.
I have to tell you, I usually do like a little teaser post on Facebook whenever I'm putting out an episode, and I had your photo on there. I've never gotten the response that I did from your little pre-show post.
It made me tear up this morning, dude, reading all of those people, and they're all from the panic scene, and like literally all of those people are my friends in real life. But like I started reading all of those, and I was just like thinking, I go and walk 2 miles at the Y every morning, and
Smart.
like I was sitting there reading all of those, and I was just like, man, like I felt so loved.
Yep.
Because every single one of those people I have just experiences with, and like just having them comment on that, I was just like, man, like they didn't have to, they could just liked it, but it was just, they were making me smile like very big, and I sometimes need that. And so that was a really reassuring thing this morning. So
that was going to be my point, is you are clearly loved, and with everything that you've gone through, surviving the hurricane and bringing your business back from the brink of something bad, that, it's clear that people love you, and I'm glad to make your acquaintance. It was really cool to talk with you for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, thanks. And hopefully someday we can meet in person, because
yeah, for sure.
I feel like I could just probably sit and talk with you and have a beer for in person.
Let's do it. My girlfriend, Ashley Marks, she loves you too.
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. This makes so much sense.
Yeah,
okay.
She's at work right now, but she would want me to tell you hello. So.
Oh, that's awesome. She's wonderful. Us Ashleys, something about it.
What's your birthday? July what?
7/21, July 21st.
Okay, because I'm 8/3. You said I'm a Leo, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. See, I love being a Cancer, and also love having the Leo side, but man, they get confused sometimes.
It was really good to meet you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're working, and you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I've enjoyed talking. It kind of felt extremely natural, so I like that. That was wonderful. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk soon.
Night, everybody.